High-stakes talks are underway between the U.S. and Turkish diplomats as fighting intensifies between Kurdish fighters and Turkish forces in northern Syria.
After President Trump initially paved the way for the invasion by pulling troops out of the region, the U.S. is now demanding a ceasefire and threatening sanctions. Vice President Mike Pence and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo are set to meet with the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan tomorrow. CBS News State Department and Foreign Affairs reporter Christina Ruffini is following the latest from Washington. So, Christina, what is the latest on the negotiations right now? A lot of folks who study the region for a living, who are analysts in the region, including military analysts, say that it's a little too late, these sanctions. Erdogan doesn't seem to be backing down. In fact, he's on the record saying there will be no ceasefire.
No ceasefire, and he's not concerned about possible sanctions.
Exactly right.
Well, you know, like you said, the Vice President and Secretary Pompeo are headed there this afternoon, and the Special Representative for Syria, Ambassador Jim Jeffrey, as well as Robert O'Brien, the National Security Advisor, left last night ahead of that delegation. And they're trying to lay the groundwork a little bit for this meeting with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan tomorrow. Earlier this morning, there was a bit of confusion where some agencies were running with comments President Erdogan allegedly made saying he would not meet with the Vice President. But the Turks have since said that was a mistranslation. And though Erdogan will not meet with the National Security Advisor or Special Envoy, he will meet with the VP's delegation tomorrow. But as you said, with the rhetorics on both sides, especially what we're hearing from the Turks saying they won't back down, they don't care about sanctions, they've kind of dug out this intractable position. So it's unclear how much progress any of these gentlemen on their 3 military planes that are going over there will be able to make.
So it's interesting that, you know, there is an attempt at negotiation now, but one would think that much of this negotiation would have happened before the decision to pull troops out of northern Syria, particularly if you didn't want to see this level of violence that we're seeing. Were there negotiations earlier on this?
This has been a consistent source of debate. So the U.S. says there were not. They said that they pulled back these 2 garrisons. A senior State Department official argued yesterday that the pulling back of those U.S. troops was not a green light for Turkey to invade. The official said that Turkey made it very clear that its troops were going in no matter what, if the U.S. moved its forces or not. And strategically, there's no unit commander in the world who would have made the decision to leave 40 or so guys at some border posts against 25,000 incoming Turkish troops. He also said something we haven't quite heard before. Amid these allegations that the U.S. has abandoned or moreover essentially betrayed the Kurdish militias who fought and died defeating ISIS, the official said those troops that were moved out of the way were never meant to deter Turkish forces because, quote, we have absolutely no decision at any level ever to provide military protection to the SDF. He said the U.S. said it would do its best to discourage Turkey from crossing the border, but that it ultimately failed in that effort, and America is not going to attack a NATO ally.
So just to clarify,
but if America is not going to attack a NATO ally, this same person is saying that Turkey would have attacked if the U.S. forces were in the region.
Right, that the plan for Turkey was to cross the border anyway
and attack, even though a Turkish ally, a NATO ally, was in the region,
right, leaving the U.S. with essentially forcing the hand of the U.S. to remove their troops or else put them in harm's way.
I posed that exact question. I said, why not put it on the onus of Turkey then? Leave your troops there and say to Turkey, we're a NATO ally. You're really going to compromise our forces? And I didn't quite get an answer.
So the president has prided himself on forming personal relationships with world leaders to push U.S. foreign policy. Now we're seeing the images that are coming back from our reporting, but also other reports out there are showing what is essentially turning out to be some kind of almost nearly a genocide. Why isn't he speaking with Erdogan himself? Why isn't the president just picking up the phone and calling President Erdogan? Why is he sending the vice president?
Obviously, I don't have a lot of optics into this, but I would say the last time President Trump spoke to President Erdogan, this happened. So there might be an effort to take a slightly more nuanced approach. Look, this is a very complicated foreign policy issue. The president has said that he goes with his gut, and he tweeted that he did that in this case. But you can't go with your gut in a situation like this because it is so complicated. It's a dangerous geopolitical matter. It has implications not only for the future of the region, but also the U.S. standing in the Middle East. So I think perhaps the thinking is maybe cooler, complicated on an issue like this, maybe cooler heads can prevail.